All right, welcome into the latest episode of Floor's Yours. This is also doubling as the Five on the Floor post-game show, and also you'll be hearing this in the morning on Dash Radio, where we are every day, Monday through Friday, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern and 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific. We'll be joined here by Alex Toledo in a second. We've also got Greg Sylvander, Alphonse Sidney. Thanks for joining us on the pregame shows and the halftime shows, which were a lot more fun than the second half was. We're going to be taking your comments. Again, if you haven't listened to this show before, this is a lot about our audience, and we get our audience from Twitter and our YouTube channel, and it kind of feeds what we do here. Guys, before we get to some of the commentary, and again, we're going to go through some of the comments that come in, let's get to exactly what happened here. 130 to 116, the Heat lose. The Heat scored 73 points in the first half. They gave up 74 points in the second half. 36 and 38. Some of the leaders from Miami, Duncan Robinson with 21 as a starter, 7 11 from the field, 5 3-pointers. Tyler Herro with 20 off the bench. There were also 5 other players for the Heat in double figures. For the Bucks, 33 for Giannis on 13 of 17 shooting, 12 rebounds and 4 assists after he got off to a slow start and was dealing with foul trouble the whole game. 33 for Khris Middleton, though. That's what got him, as Alex Toledo joins us. 9 of 14 from the field, 10 of 10 from the line, 5 of 6 from 3, including a couple that were banked. And, let's start here. Everything that was going right in the first half, which we talked about during the halftime show, and a couple of you guys were on that. The ball was moving. They were playing unselfishly. They were getting after it defensively. They got Giannis in foul trouble. They were running different bodies at Giannis. You could just see it all fall apart in the first 4 minutes of the third quarter. And I know that we don't want to make too much of one game during the bubble situation against the number one seed in the East that we talked about was going to be motivated for this game for a whole bunch of different reasons. Didn't want to fall to 3-0 or 0-3 against Miami. Wanted to get its own act together after losing 5 out of 6. Wanted to clinch the East and get it over with. I get all of those things. But the third quarter struggles, it's a repeated thing with this team. And so I don't think we can just look past it.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you have Bam in foul trouble early. Ridiculous foul calls. Bam in foul trouble early. No Jimmy. No Goran for any relief off the bench. Like, come on. Like, against the best team in the NBA, like, there is no team in the league that's going to play limited minutes from its second best player and no minutes from their first and maybe third or fourth best player, depending on where you put Duncan Robinson in the hierarchy. Like, this is not... To me, this is not even something to really even worry about. Like, this is like there's nothing. Like, there's a lot of things to that we can talk about throughout the bubble, but this game is so outlierish. That first half, like, we can't even get that excited about the first half. The second half, you can't get that down about the second half because if you are going into a series against the Milwaukee Bucks without Goran Dragic, without Jimmy Butler, and with 22 minutes of Bam Adebayo, you will lose every game by 30 to 40 points. Like, this is...
I get that, Alf, but I don't know if we can have it both ways because we were on here, and I know you were on here briefly on the halftime show on the YouTube channel, but everybody was giddy at halftime. So we can't say we're not even going to think about what happened in the first half now because we were. Okay, so I get it. In the big picture, no Dragic, no Butler, Bam non-aggressive, Bam in foul trouble, but we need to talk about that too, by the way, okay? And we do need to get to Bam. Let's just start with what happened the first 4 minutes of the third quarter, because it is, again, like you said, no Jimmy. Dragic wouldn't have been out there anyway, but no Jimmy. But they played well without Jimmy the other day. Alex, what happened just as you're watching it offensively? What broke down?
I mean, everything kind of balanced. It kind of went right back to that balance that I think we were expecting. I think we're kind of taking for granted what happened in that first half, where for the Heat to kind of basically be up 18 and around there for an extended period of time against the Bucks without their two best playmakers, essentially the 2 point guards, Jimmy and Goran. I mean, it's ridiculous. We know that most of their offense gets generated from the Bam and Duncan combo, so that's why they were really able to get their offense from. And I think that's really the key to the first and second half. I think in the first half they were really able to shake Duncan free enough. I mean, not that the Bucks weren't really trying to take him out of the game, but in the second half they really did a better job getting them all off the line. And I think at the end of the day, the Bucks game plan was trying to mimic what the Raptors did, maybe not as aggressive, but they let the Jay Crowders of the world shoot. You saw Derrick Jones Jr. get a lot of wide open shots. Like those shots, I'm really glad he made them. The shot doesn't look, it doesn't look bad, but those shots were wide open for a reason. They're trying to get Duncan off, but in the second half they couldn't really generate any offense off of it, and it kind of just kept breaking down. We saw a lot of Kendrick Nunn at the end of the shot clock, and that's not the greatest thing.
All right, let's get right to it. Let's do it because we talked about it in pregame. We talked about it at halftime. And like I said, I think all of us are pulling for Kendrick to pull through this. But at this
it's not his fault. Without Jimmy and Goran there, those are the hubs for him.
But I want that perspective, okay? Because everybody's piling on one side right now. Here are the numbers: 5 of 17 overall, which was 4 of 10 from 3, which isn't bad. Had 2 turnovers. It looked like more. There were a bunch of times he got caught up in the air, and they just happened. The ball got tipped to another Heat player. But he's up in the air all the time. He seems to be aggressive when he shouldn't be aggressive. He's not aggressive when he should be aggressive. But, Alex, that perspective, before I get to Greg, I mean, does he have to be playing with one of those guys? Because it's clear he can't generate this stuff on his own right now.
He could do this. He could do this versus the Orlando Magic, a DJ Augustine. He's not going to do this versus the Bucks, who had the best defense, who have Eric Bledsoe out there, who's probably going to be, make all defense first or second team. Like, I think it's a really tough thing for him to do. Like, that team is a ridiculously good defense, and they do kind of allow shots that he's good at, but he's not that guy to handle the offense for you. I don't think he can do that. Is my video messing up again?
No, you sound fine today. You're good. But
is the video delayed?
No.
Okay, because it is from my end.
No, we're here. Let me flip to Greg here for a second. You know the history of Heat fans. They like to find one guy to pile on, and that person becomes the scapegoat for everything. And I feel like that's starting to happen with Kendrick. And after another 5 for 17, where he's a minus 17, I mean, other guys struggled. Bam struggled in the second half. I mean, nobody played particularly. I mean, even Herro didn't play well in the second half. He played exceptionally well in the first half. But is there a way for him to dig himself out of this? Or are we looking at momentum where eventually he's going to become a part-time player for this team in the playoffs?
I mean, I hate to say that it's the latter, but this is more than just an isolated game where he's against an overmatched Milwaukee opponent and he's missing some key guys that would unlock things that he does. He's been doing this in every scenario that we've seen, essentially. And at some point, I think that Spoelstra is going to have to look at something. I think the favorite is probably Tyler Herro to take that spot at some point. But the issue, though, this is like the thing that I think Spo is having. It's a conundrum, essentially. There's a SAT word. With Goran and Jimmy out, you can't really shelve Kendrick Nunn. You have to kind of just weather the storm and play him. So unfortunately, by the way he's playing, I think that he's going to be involved. So he's not going to get completely buried. But I could absolutely see them putting Tyler in the starting lineup come, Phoenix Saturday.
I mean, Alf, you and we talked a bunch at the beginning of the season about Kendrick learning to make the right decisions, right? And in that sense, he was such a prolific scorer early. I kind of tweeted something out, and I feel like everybody's now used it, which is that Kendrick ate against bad teams. That was happening a lot early in the season. And it just seems like, to Alex's point, when you play a good defensive team, a disciplined defensive team, a physical defensive team with some size, that he struggles. You put him against a team that's going to the lottery, he gets you 25. But they're not going to see any of those teams anymore.
No.
It's right. So what? And I know you have to play him now, but I thought that was the positive today, was that you had no Dragic, you had no Jimmy, and Nunn had a chance to kind of work his way out of it. It didn't happen. When do you make the move?
I mean, if it was me, I'd make the move immediately. And Herro had his struggles too, right? Herro had some bad turnovers in the fourth and the third. In the whole second half, neither of those guys played exceptionally well. But the thing is, what Herro brings you on the other side of the ball, he's an adequate defender. And also, his shot and his playmaking skills are overall more reliable than Kendrick's are. And I would not say that for the season. I'm talking about the 4 bubble games, right? Mm-hmm. Kendrick Nunn has been, I don't know another way to put this, but he's been awful on both sides of the ball. If Kendrick is giving up 15 points on one side but getting you 17 on the other, that's one thing. But when he's not giving you anything offensively but turnovers and bad shots, taking the offense out of its rhythm, like, and he's not giving you anything defensively either, like, then what is he doing out there? Now, I will say today he had a better defensive game and it's probably his best defensive game of the bubble, right? You didn't really see George Hill or Bledsoe go off on him. He had that nice chase down block on Bledsoe. Like, he held his own a little bit, but there's a lot of times what he does defensively does not automatically trigger a guard making a shot. It just what he does breaks down the entire defense. But I don't think he was bad today defensively. But if he does nothing on the other end and he keeps the turnovers today, like you said, it was 2. I thought it was 19. Like,
yeah.
I felt like he kept getting caught in the lane and throwing the ball away.
Tyler had 5, which surprised me, but
I doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, there were some sequences where he was trying to do too much. They both have this habit, although none in particular. They both have this habit of trying to make these tight passes in the paint, and those are the ones or trying to make a pass in the air, and those are the ones that are always getting picked off. And so, I mean, that's, look, neither of them is a point guard. Okay. We've talked about this many times. They don't really have a point guard. I mean, even Dragic, as well as he played, is not traditionally a point guard. But I just think when you're looking at where they are right now, it seems to me like this is setting up for game 1 playoff series, Tyler Herro as a starting guard, whatever you want to call him. And then essentially you're 4 off. He's not going to play 5 off the bench, I don't think, in the postseason. So I think it's going to come down to Nunn or DJJ getting minutes. It's going to be one of those two. Let's transition a little bit here too. I want to get to Bam, okay? And we got a lot of comments coming in. We're going to try to scroll back through them. Manny's throwing them in. Our producer Manny Chang's throwing them in rapid fire for us. I'm going to try to catch up to them as best I can. Bam today. There's going to be somewhat of an overreaction to this from some because he was 2 of 10. He only played 22 minutes. He had 5 fouls. But again, of the 6 points, 3 were that 3 at the end of the half. I mean, so he really didn't give you anything offensively today at all. Does he need to be in more of a takeover mode when he doesn't have – because we saw it in the Washington game of the season. No Jimmy, took over. I never felt that from him even before the foul trouble today.
I mean, you just said it right there, man. The Washington game. The Wizards are one of those teams where you play them and guys are having career games. And Bam is that guy, by the way. We've been talking about it all year that he can do that. He's not there yet at a consistent level. I don't think that was going to be possible at all today. With no Jimmy and Goran out there, it's not just a playmaking because we know Bam could do stuff with the ball. But the problem is when he's the main threat, him and Duncan Robinson are the main guys being scouted out there. And then you've got, Giannis and Brook Lopez on the back line, which is where, frankly, the only place that Bam can be effective when we're just talking about scoring on offense. I just don't think it was the right game for him to go off scoring wise. I think he tried to do as much as he could to kind of quarterback the team and be a stable presence on offense, make the right reads. And I thought he did actually a really good job with that. He found Duncan a few times there and he found others. And I think he's just so good at that. Team scouted, and he still just does it a bunch of times a game. It's not like a couple times. This is something that's just happening constantly. So that makes me happy. I just don't think he was going to do it against Giannis and Brook Lopez. What it comes down to.
I mean,
he's just not a guy that you can necessarily just throw it down to and have him facilitate getting buckets necessarily.
2 7-footers.
And particularly Alex hit on it. Like this Milwaukee matchup is not like when we talk about Bam taking over games, it can happen the way it did against Boston, where it's like offensive rebounds, beasting in the paint, getting dunks, things like that. He's not going to do that against 2 7-footers and like basically the best defense we've seen in a really long time. So it was incumbent on the shooters to make shots, which they did in the first half, but also just from his approach, and this is the one thing Ethan touched on early, and it's vital. At some point, he has to just go. He has to take a page out of the Michael Beasley playbook and take shots and take some bad shots. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think he's so much like Chris Bosh and that he doesn't want to make a bad play. But right now, with his ascension, we need him to shoot.
Well, so let me get to this with you, Alf, because this comment's come in a couple times and I want to address it. Eric decided not to let Bam play through the foul trouble, right? Bud let Giannis play through the foul trouble. Spo didn't let Bam necessarily play through the foul trouble. That tends to be Spoelstra's MO too, traditionally.
Yeah.
Right? He will take guys out. I am always of the belief you let the guy play through the foul trouble because if the coach takes him out of the game, it's exactly what the fouls would have done to him at the end of the game. So
and you dare the ref to make the call.
Correct, especially when you get to a point where you have a reputation like Bam has now, where he's an all-star. So you're not going to get the Giannis breaks. You're not going to get the LeBron breaks. You're going to get some breaks. But here's my thing, and I just want to go to Alf on this, because if you're not playing Myers Leonard, okay, and they're not playing Myers Leonard, like this is not a 1 game, 2 game. There's nothing to do with the anthem. There's nothing to do with chugging beer. Okay, they're just not playing Myers Leonard right now. Okay, they're playing 2 bigs. I mean, Kelly Olynyk played 34 minutes tonight, and he wasn't great offensively either. He was 8 of 8 from the line, but he was 2 of 8 from the field and a minus 23 with 13 points. But then, if that's the case, Bam is going to get in some foul trouble. Because even though he's really good for a big at avoiding fouls because of how well he moves his feet and how quick he is and all the rest of that, there's going to be some of these games. Eric's got 2 choices. He's either got to play Myers Leonard, okay, or he's got to let Bam play through it. You can't do what you did today. And take
I thought you were going to say Chris Silva.
I don't think, honestly, I don't think if this was an important game, we would have seen the same game plan from Eric Spoelstra. Like, that's where I really come down on this. First of all, I think there was a lot of nonsense called. I think Giannis probably had 15 fouls. Like, if you watch that game, Giannis should have fouled out in the second quarter. But listen, it is what it is. And I really think it was more about limiting Bam's minutes than it was about foul trouble. Like, I don't think he was as worried about foul trouble. Like, if this was an important game, there's no way that he wouldn't have started the fourth quarter with Bam out there, only up 6 after blowing that lead. So I think it was more a product of the game, the type of game that they were playing. I mean, we're watching that the Heat are settling into that 4-5 seed, right? We saw Ben Simmons go down. The Heat are going to be the 4 or the 5.
Indy lost today too.
Indy lost, yeah.
Okay, so listen, they're going to be the 4 or the 5 seed. There's no home court advantage in this thing. It doesn't matter. So why burn out Bam? I do think all those minutes for Olynyk, a lot of minutes for Iggy, like that surprises me a little bit. I would have thought, if Spoelstra really didn't care about this game, he would have probably went deeper into the bench. But I mean, he played 12 guys.
I mean, he didn't really play 12 guys. He played 9 guys. I mean, Alexander and Silva got a minute each. It's hard to
do with losing 45, 50 minutes a game from Goran and Butler. You know what I mean? So I think it was less a product of the fouls and more a product about how important this game was.
All right, I'm going to get to some of the comments here. Let's go to this. This one comes in. It says Spo lost the game when he didn't put Myers in at all. The Myers Leonard that we saw playing in the bubble so far, I don't know how much that guy helps you in a game.
What does Myers do for you in this game? That's what I want to know. Offensively, Jay Crowder was better than what Jay Crowder had a better game tonight than I think probably all but like 1 or 2 Myers Leonard games. Like, what does Myers give you over Jay Crowder tonight?
They were only out rebounded by 5. And they out-rebounded them on the offensive glass. So, I mean, like, what are we really talking about is it the 3-point shooting? Because I don't necessarily think that Leonard is providing that in a different way than KO is.
No, I think the biggest thing that they were missing in this game, and Spoelstra's on now, I think the biggest thing that they were missing in this game was somebody to settle them in the third quarter.
Right.
And without it wouldn't have been Dragic, at least not. It might have been Dragic if. The way it's been going, Nunn plays 4 minutes in the second half, and then Goran plays the rest of it. So it might have been Dragic, but it wouldn't have been Dragic until halfway through the third quarter. But yeah, it might have been Jimmy. It might have been someone else. But I understand what you're saying, Alf, and I do think Milwaukee wanted this game more than Miami did for all the reasons we talked about before the game. This is not hindsight. Okay, all the reasons. One of the reasons I thought Milwaukee would win this game. Of course, I thought the Heat would cover, and they would have until that at the end. But I do think I don't want to look past the third quarter problem specifically. I know we can say that this game there were some things that were anomalies, and Spoelstra's not coaching it to win as he ordinarily would. But this is not like a 1-game sample size or even a 1-season sample size. this is an organization that struggles in the third quarter. We have a name for it. And I guess what the fans are frustrated about is why it is that when that happens, there's nothing that happens to make it stop. And I don't know what it could have done to make it stop today, but I do know that you had Herro and Nunn at first repeatedly getting into the lane, either turning the ball over or near turnover. And I don't know what could they have done to fix it.
And I'm not trying to dominate, but here's my question for tonight. Well, in the bubble, has there been an issue in the third quarter? Has not been an issue really much in the bubble, right?
Correct.
Tonight was the first time we've seen it. So me looking at this game is Milwaukee went into the half and made adjustments. Miami didn't have Goran Dragic or Jimmy Butler, and then early foul trouble on Bam. What adjustments can they make at that point? What adjustments are you hammering Spo on in the third quarter? Like, if the answer was Myers Leonard, please let me know. Because I want to know, was the answer Myers Leonard to stop that onslaught that was coming? Because if it was, no. I mean Myers.
We could say, how about this? We could say that Myers Leonard is somebody that can help in a matchup versus bigger teams like the Bucks and the Raptors, and also say that he was not going to stop what happened in the second half. I mean, I think we all could see that coming. This team has the number 5 point differential of all time. Like, this team is up there with legendary teams. Just because they don't look like it, I think it's just we got to expect that run is coming. It's a great team.
Leif, I want to know, outside of playing Myers Leonard more, what was the adjustment you make in the second half? Like,
you just Shaq over here. Like, what are you gonna do?
You were hoping that you could continue to shoot threes at the flip. And you know what? Like, this is a crazy thing. They ended the game with 21 3-pointers made, almost 46% from three. Any other game, they're going to win that game. So, like, Milwaukee just went on a crazy run. And
not enough in the second half.
Yep. You mean you run out of gas a little bit?
Well, but okay, I'm getting it. It's 46% from three on a huge volume, plus 93% from the line, with 27 attempts, and you still lose the game by 14.
I know.
Now, I mean that might get to Alex's point that this is a historically great team that did look like one in the first half. We got some comments coming out that are getting us to laugh a little bit, and so this is one of the reasons you got to catch us before it comes out on the podcast. But I mean, they were incredibly efficient shooting the ball, except from two. They were 14 of 37 from two, and that again speaks to the fact that their offense, particularly without Jimmy, that's what it is. It's all, unless Bam is going to do some things inside, their offense is basically all kickouts, dribble handoffs, get the ball out to 3-point shooters, and usually you'll win with that math. But Milwaukee makes a bet in every game that you're not going to win with that math, because ultimately they're going to do enough other things that frustrate you, and eventually they'll get the right guys to shoot those threes, and they'll have enough runs to get away, and that's pretty much what they did. All right, I want to go through a couple of more players here. We want to thank, first thing, too, our sponsors, so check them out, safecubbies.com. Make sure that your workspace is safe, also beautiful, but safe. Safecubbies.com. It's perfect for this era, this COVID-19 era, and also Biscayne Bay Brewing. LouisPeters.com if you're looking for a State Farm agent, and we appreciate you supporting our sponsors, because that helps us continue to produce all this content. All right, let's get to a couple of other guys today. The backside of the Nunn conversation is the Herro conversation, and I almost feel like every time we do one of these episodes, we're looking for excuses for him not to be playing the kind of minutes that he played today. He played 33 minutes. He was 6 of 12. Yes, the 5 turnovers, 7 of 7 from the line, 20 points. And in a game that they lost by 14, ultimately, he was a +9. I mean, we talked. I mean, you talked about it before the bubble. Everybody went into the bubble, Greg, that this was the breakout. It was going to happen. There were some shooting struggles early. Everybody was blaming it on his IG model. Nobody's blaming her anymore. He's doing fine.
You should have never done that. All right. I mean, come on.
I'm with you on that.
I don't think we did it on this show.
No, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying by we. I'm talking about Heat fans, man. We can just stop with that whole Instagram comment. I mean, come on, man. These people have lives.
Well, they should have lives, but they're not.
Hating ass energy, man. Shut up.
You know how that works.
I know what energy you really wanted to say, Alex, but let's not.
But our producer Manny, don't tweet at her again from the 5 on the Floor account, though, please. But I mean, are we at the point? Are we at the point that this thing needs to be turned over to him more? Because you talk about guys who can create their shot. You talk about guys who can do more than one thing on the floor. He's clearly become a better defender. So, what is the holdup now? Like, I know Heat culture, you want to make young guys earn it, but at this point, why would you not be penciling him in for 25 to 33 minutes a night?
I think you're right. I think as soon as they go into the playoffs.
I believe that they intend to have him as the starter next season. So, like, let's just do this thing. Throw him in there. And now's the right moment when you see Kendrick Nunn struggling. Like, why not go to it? It's the perfect transition moment. I don't think anyone would go, wow, I'm surprised by this move. So move him into the lineup. You hope Jimmy comes back. Jimmy and him have, their chemistry and stuff like that. So I don't see why now is not the perfect transition point. But Spoelstra seems pretty aligned. Like, he's stuck by Kendrick throughout this entire thing, and he's done that with other guys along the way as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react. But if it were me, he would be starting in the next game.
Does he just not want to lose, Kendrick, from a confidence standpoint?
It has to be some of that.
I don't think Kendrick has a confidence problem. I mean, Kendrick doesn't seem like the kind of guy to me that would have a confidence issue. Like, he's
just a limited ball handler, man. That's really all it comes down to at this point. He's limited. That's why he got slotted into that starting lineup. I think and I don't mean limited honestly, he's not a lead point guard. That's all there really is to it. He's a shooting guard. If he was locked in as a shooting guard and you had that label, we wouldn't even be saying that about him because we know what his role is. He's just not that type of guy, or he isn't there yet. He's a rookie. He's a rookie point guard, He's done very well despite that, but he's a scorer at the end of the day. That's what he is in this moment. And I'm not really that worried about it, but you already know I'm with the whole start Herro thing. I think they will start playing him more once the playoffs start. I think it becomes obvious that Herro can just do a little bit more things and get your offense going. And Kendrick Nunn kind of hesitates a little bit. He's just not that decision maker. I just don't think he is.
If Kendrick Nunn, and I want to move off the Nunn Herro thing because we spent a lot of time on it. If Kendrick Nunn is moved out of the starting lineup, do you think he has a rotation role with his team in the playoffs?
I think so, but it's gonna be tough because him and Dragic are not a good tandem.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get really, really creative in staggering those guys. But how the hell can you, there's guard minutes that have to go around. He's been such a key cog in this wheel all year. So to just say that, I guess Myers Leonard did happen, but is it going to happen twice where two guys that have started in the most successful lineups all season are both shelved? I think that would be a little unprecedented.
Well, can I ask you guys, do you think it's better to start Dragic and let Nunn, somebody put it here, why don't you let Nunn get his confidence against second units? Same thing with Herro. I don't know if Herro's the guy to play against, against elite point guards.
But you gave Nunn the chance, though. Why not give it to Herro? At least, maybe not right now, but let's say
because it's the playoffs.
Next season.
It's gonna be next season, but it's gonna be the playoffs. I don't think Herro is a starter when the playoffs come around. I think Dragic is a starter because you trust Dragic, and not even just offensively. You trust him defensively to be smart enough, to be enough of a savvy vet that he will figure it out against elite point guard.
How about
or you can hide him on somebody else.
I don't hate that. I really don't hate the idea of Goran starting. My one problem with Goran starting is what you lose in the bench lineup. And maybe I am overrating it a little bit and just because it's cool to have a good bench lineup, but at the end of the day, I think it's really important because once Jimmy and Bam come off of the floor, they're able to kind of stay in the game, and even then their numbers without Bam and Duncan are just not good at all. So I think that bench lineup is important. I think having Goran there is important to that bench lineup. I don't know if he's as effective if you just start him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he looks as good. I think he's going to have a diminished role where he may not be doing as much, and maybe it impacts the rest of the team, which is why I kind of would rather try Dragic and Nunn off the bench. You know what I'm saying? I just think if you're going to really move forward with Herro as that type of guy, you think that he's going to be a star eventually, put him there. At the end of the day, I think we all agree that he's a closer, so I don't think that this starter thing is actually really important. And I hate that Nunn and Herro are we've pitted them against each other. Not it because they're like really good friends. I don't think we mean to do that. It's just kind of the situation of where they are as some of the team's better assets.
Well, let me throw this at you though. What if is there a possibility if you anoint Tyler Herro a starter? We see how he responds when he's given responsibility. You see how he responds in terms of his confidence. Like that may get him to another. It's kind of like Bam this year. Like you cleared out Whiteside out of the way, you're the guy, and you saw what it did for Bam. And Tyler strikes me as the type of personality. If he's given that responsibility in the starting lineup, that he may go up another level. And I think we need to be clear again. This is not really an extension of the last regular season. It is kind of a new season. Like you had 4 months off. I mean, Tyler Herro is kind of in his second year.
And Kendrick Nunn didn't have a training camp.
And Kendrick Nunn did not have a training camp. And I think, to close that conversation, I think we need to be fair to Kendrick, and we're trying. And I think we were all kind of pulling for him to play better today. And, so he had the block early, he had the 3 early, but it has been a struggle. All right, next part of this I want to get to, and then we're going to close up today. We are trying to take some comments. We know there's been some technical issues on the video side. So one of us is moving fast and one of us is moving slow. I'm not sure what's going on, but hopefully this will all sound okay when you hear it, if you hear it in the morning. What do you do with the next 4 now? Because, I mean, you're 2-2. You're not catching Boston. You just try to win as many as you can. That's it.
You just make sure you don't slip to 6, whatever that means. Like I don't know from a math perspective what it means. I think 3 was the magic number to clinch 4 with Boston losses and Heat wins. So I don't know. You just keep track of that, and you essentially just try to avoid that 6 spot.
Yeah, I think you try to win, but if anybody has any kind of discomfort, is not feeling, above 85%, you sit them right at this point. But the guy, it's the Miami Heat. The guys who are playing on the floor are going to try to win. Like you saw it happen today. They could have folded and just came out of the gate and just said, "Hey, we got no shot," and they went up by 23. But like I said before, there's not a lot of adjustments you can make against the best team in the league when 2 of your top 3 guys are out. So, yeah, you try to win them. I don't think you play this seeding game. I think it's going to be played for you. Like I said, like it's 4 or 5, and with no home court advantage, there's no reason to go too hard and end up hurting somebody who's important to your team. But there's also no reason to just pack it in and accidentally fall to 6 and have to play Boston in the first round.
I also think the other thing we got to watch for is Jimmy. I mean, we didn't talk about him at all in the post game, but we still don't know what the deal is there. Tim Reynolds is in the bubble and said he was walking fine without a limp. He's missed 2 games after Spoelstra said they had everybody available in the last game. And I'm just kind of curious to see when he gets in. He's a guy who typically wants to play, so you'd figure he'd get some run before this thing is over. But if he doesn't play Saturday and he doesn't play Monday, then we got to start to think about it because they're not going to give away a whole bunch of additional information.
I mean, I have a question. So Tim Reynolds tweets that Jimmy walked in slippers without a limp. And then he also teased something about, I have a picture, but I'm not going to post that. Mm-hmm. Why is he not sitting at the bench? So usually players that are injured may not sit on the bench because they're in the back working out, doing cardio, things like that. Like that's customary during the regular season. But he's not doing that. He came in slippers. So doesn't Jimmy seem to be a guy that would be on the bench, involved in that kind of, camaraderie and getting guys, hyped up and stuff like that. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's a little weird that he's so absent and we don't see him.
That's true. Because it's been the opposite all season. And
correct.
It was
That's
so
what I mean.
Clear, especially being in the locker room. It was obvious that he's all about the team, which is why it kind of makes me uncomfortable even speculating on it. Because we're not speculating, but that's what we're going to end up going to. Because it's if it's not, it's going away from the normal for him, which makes me think it's something serious. You know what I'm saying? Something going on that's serious.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate, but ever since Sunday, things have felt weird, right? Ever since the Jay Crowder and Kelly Olynyk comments, things have felt off. I know he played. What was it, Monday? But this pure speculation or listen. You guys all know I'm not an insider. I watch games and drink and talk a lot of shit.
There's 2 insiders on this StreamYard.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not me and Alex. But yeah, things have just felt weird since Sunday. So who knows? Hopefully, it's nothing, and we're making a big deal of nothing. But it is a little concerning. You're going into this stretch where they could have gotten a 3 seed, and you're missing Jimmy Butler 2 straight games, and now you're basically the 3 seed is just completely out of reach at this point.
Well, this is the third pocket of the season where he's missed time, either for personal stuff or something we couldn't figure out. Right? Like
how about this?
Yeah.
I was gonna say moving because Alf just said the 3 seed kind of goes out of the question if Jimmy ends up taking an extended. I mean, he's already missed 2 games, and they've kind of stayed afloat without him generally. But the 3 seed, do you guys? What's more attractive to you, Philly and Milwaukee, or Indiana and Milwaukee, or Toronto and Boston?
I don't think you want to see. You don't want to see. Well, I don't, at this point. I think that.
After seeing what we saw this week, I know.
I don't know that Milwaukee is much better than Toronto. I really don't, and I don't know where you're going to see Indiana or Philadelphia because with the Simmons injury and Sabonis being out, and Warren playing the way he's playing. I know they lost today to Phoenix. I don't really know where that's going to fall out. I
have a feeling if you put it to a poll,
yeah,
more people would side with wanting to stay in 4-5 at this point. Seeing what's happening with Philly and Indiana and their injuries, and then seeing the confidence that you have going against Milwaukee, beating them twice and almost beating them again without Jimmy. Yep. Like I think a lot of people would side towards that now, and I'm not as sure, but I'm getting there though. I'm getting there.
Well, I think the whole thing now is get Dragic healthy. Figure out.
They would have won this game if they were healthy. I think it's that simple. Figure
out what Jimmy's situation is and go from there. But I guess my concern right now would be that you talk about 2 insiders on this show. We're pretty much in the dark on the Jimmy thing. I mean, a lot of the doors that are usually open to me there have not been open the past few days, and so that's what makes me a little suspicious about what's going on. I'm not really sure. Some of the comments coming in from Benjamin are distracting me because they're good. And again, we apologize for the internet. All right, we're going to close.
Hurricane Jimmy. They battered down the doors.
That's right. All right, so we're actually going to close this one up here. We're going to actually give you something else on the podcast feed in addition to this. Join us on Saturday. I know Alf is taking a little bit of a mental health break for the weekend, so he will not be joining us Saturday. But I have nothing else to
get drunk in peace.
That's right.
No, I'm sick of my damn apartment, man. I need to see other things. Like, there's another world out there, supposedly, pre-COVID.
Hey, man, KZ's getting personal days, so you get a personal day.
Bro, yeah, right. You guys ain't going to see me Saturday. I don't even want to know the score till Sunday morning.
All right. Heat lose 130 to 116, 2-2 in the bubble, still in the 4 seed. It started really well, and then our friend Kylie Wan came in here on the halftime show and completely jinxed it. And so blame her, not us. Talk to you later.